Hello, movie enthusiasts. Welcome back to Hollywood Cine Mysterious. Today, we are dissecting a film that stands as one of the most explosive, controversial, and misunderstood action films of the 1990s. 1993's Hard Target. The 90s was a decade where action cinema was evolving. It was the era of the Superman archetype, men with massive biceps, one-liners, and endless ammunition. But then, something shifted. A visionary from Hong Kong, John Woo, arrived in Hollywood. He brought with him a new cinematic language, slow-motion gun battles, emotional violence, and poetic chaos. Hard Target wasn't just a movie about a man hunting killers in a swamp. It was the moment global cinema collided with the Hollywood machine. It was a production defined by clashing egos, extreme environmental hazards, and a battle for the director's creative soul. How did a film about a human hunt in Louisiana become the blueprint for modern classics like John Wick? Let's dive in. The visionary's arrival and the safety net. To understand the chaos, we must look at John Woo. In the early 90s, he was already a legend in Hong Kong cinema, famous for The Killer and Hard Boiled. When Universal Pictures brought him to the United States, they were nervous. They saw a brilliant artist who didn't fully speak fluent English, now tasked with directing international superstar Jean-Claude Van Damme. In a strange Hollywood decision, they even brought in Sam Raimi, the creator of Evil Dead, as a kind of safety net to observe production. Normally, this would crush a director's authority, but something unexpected happened. Instead of interference, Raimi became an admirer of Woo's style. He respected the vision and helped protect Woo from excessive studio pressure. This unusual alliance allowed Woo's signature cinematic voice, at least partially, to survive inside a heavily controlled Hollywood system. The story, humans as the ultimate game. The plot of Hard Target is brutally simple. In New Orleans, a secret group of wealthy men runs a deadly sport, human hunting. The organizer, Emil Fauchen, played by Lance Henriksen, leads this disturbing operation with cold elegance. His philosophy is simple. Life is just entertainment. Enter Chance Boudreaux, played by Jean-Claude Van Damme. But this is not the typical action hero role. Under John Woo's direction, Van Damme becomes more mythic, silent, focused, almost like a wandering warrior. His long hair, trench coat, and calm presence transform him into something symbolic, rather than just physical. The Louisiana swamp becomes more than a setting. It becomes a living trap. Thick air, endless humidity, and dark waters turn the environment into an invisible enemy. Survival is not just about fighting humans, but also escaping nature itself. The behind-the-scenes war of egos. If the movie feels intense, the production was even more chaotic. Jean-Claude Van Damme was at the peak of his fame. He was used to controlling his image, demanding shots that highlighted his physique, kicks, and hero poses. On the other side, John Woo was obsessed with rhythm, emotion, and visual choreography, bullets falling in slow motion, cinematic movement, and symbolic framing. These visions clash constantly. Reports from the set describe creative tension, arguments over edits, and struggles for control over the final cut. At times, Van Damme reportedly attempted to influence editing decisions to increase his screen presence, while Woo fought to maintain his artistic structure. It became a silent battle. One man wanted to be seen as a star, the other wanted to create a visual symphony. The birth of Gun Fu and the Mardi Gras finale. Hard Target introduced American audiences to what would later be called Gun Fu, a blend of choreography and gun violence that feels almost like dance. John Woo transformed gunfights into emotional performances. Slow motion was not just style, it was storytelling. Every bullet had weight, every movement had rhythm. And then comes a legendary finale, a warehouse filled with Mardi Gras decorations. Confetti floats in the air, masks hang from the walls, and neon chaos surround a violent showdown. This contrast is deliberate. Life and death exist in the same frame. Celebration and destruction collide. It becomes a visual metaphor, beauty and violence existing side by side in perfect chaos. The struggle for the R rating and the lost cut. John Woo originally delivered a much more violent and longer version of the film. The MPAA rejected it, giving it an NC-17 rating. To make the film commercially viable, over 20 scenes were cut or altered. This resulted in a toned-down theatrical version that audiences saw in 1993. Even today, fans speak about the lost cut, a version that supposedly contained more emotional depth, longer action sequences, and more brutal realism. It remains one of the great mysteries of 90s action cinema. Dangerous production conditions. The filming process itself was extremely difficult. Shooting in Louisiana meant constant humidity, unpredictable weather, and difficult terrain. Equipment often malfunctioned, and swamp locations made logistics a nightmare. Despite these issues, John Woo insisted on shooting in real environments to preserve authenticity. The result is a gritty, immersive atmosphere that studio sets could never replicate. The swamp itself feels like a silent predator watching every character. Lance Henriksen, a perfect villain. Emil Fauchen, played by Lance Henriksen, is one of the most understated yet terrifying villains of 90s action cinema. He is not loud or chaotic. He is calm, intelligent, and completely detached from morality. He does not kill out of anger. He kills for entertainment. That makes him far more disturbing. Alongside Pick Van Cleef, played by Arnold Vosloo, he forms a duo that represents privilege without empathy. Their calm professionalism makes their brutality even more chilling. Motorcycle action and innovation. One of the film's standout elements is its use of motorcycle action. Instead of traditional car chases, Woo turns motorcycles into extensions of human movement. The action scenes feel choreographed rather than chaotic. Movement becomes storytelling. Every jump, crash, and turn is designed with rhythm and visual flow. This approach would later influence countless action films and video games. How critics reacted and changed their minds. When Hard Target was first released, critics were divided. Some saw it as exaggerated and chaotic, while others didn't fully understand John Woo's visual language. But over time, perception changed. As audiences became more familiar with stylized action cinema, the film began to be appreciated as groundbreaking rather than excessive. Today, it is widely recognized as a key transitional film between traditional American action and modern stylized cinema. Hidden themes beneath the violence. At its core, Hard Target is not just an action film. It carries a dark commentary about wealth, power, and exploitation. The hunters represent the elite, people who see others as disposable entertainment. The victims are often those with limited power or protection. The film subtly asks a disturbing question. What happens when human life becomes a game for privileged? Lasting influence on modern action cinema. The influence of Hard Target can be seen everywhere today. From The Matrix to John Wick, from video games to modern stunt choreography, John Woo's visual style has become foundational. Slow-motion gun battles, choreographed violence, and emotional action storytelling all trace back to this era. What once seemed excessive is now considered iconic. Conclusion: the legacy of a cult classic. Hard Target was not a perfect film, but it was a bold one. It was a result of cultural collision, creative tension, and artistic ambition. It proved that action cinema could be expressive, emotional, and visually poetic. Even decades later, its influence continues to echo through modern filmmaking. Was the film great because of its chaos? Or despite it? Maybe both. Either way, Hard Target remains a landmark in action cinema history. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Bayou. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell us, what is your favorite gun fu moment in film history?